Hello, this is Cityscape, a regular podcast featuring people, places, and ideas that impact our community. I'm Dan West with the Livonia Westland Chamber of Commerce. Today we will visit Metro Detroit's largest privately owned banquet facility and learn about the past and what's in the future at this Livonia attraction. Laurel Manor Banquet and Conference Center opened on Schoolcraft Road in Livonia in 1988 and has since been a popular location for weddings, proms, banquets, and other events. It's one of the largest banquet facilities in Metro Detroit. The facility was built by John and Lena Del Senor, who have operated dining businesses in Livonia for 6 decades. Last year, Laurel Manor saw more than $500,000 in renovations as John and Lena's son, Luciano, took over operations of Laurel Manor. Luciano Del Senor followed in his parents' footsteps as an award-winning chef and a culinary entrepreneur who established restaurants across Metro Detroit over the past couple decades, including Bijolora and Arbor Brewing Company, which each have multiple locations in the area. And he joins us today. Luciano, thanks for finding time to join us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Dan.
First off, how are Mom and Dad doing?
Mom and Dad are doing great. They're down in sunny Florida, close to my sister Nancy, and are really enjoying a break from the weather and retirement.
So, how many years have they been married now?
They've been married 66 years.
God bless them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, tell us about your experience growing up in your parents' dining businesses, and obviously how it got you going in your business interests.
Well, as you know, I grew up in this business when I was a kid. My father had a little tiny pizzeria in Livonia on 6 Mile and Farmington Road called Di Giovanni's Pizzeria. Mm-hmm. 5 years later, he bought a piece of property on Plymouth Road, and he converted it to a little restaurant called the Italian Hut. It was a diner prior to him going there, and he threw a pizza oven in it and added some Italian flair to it. That got knocked down to the ground in 1973, and in 1974 he opened Fonte di Amore, named after the hometown in Abruzzo, Italy, where my mother and father were born and raised and married. And then Fonte di Amore is where I cut my teeth as a chef. I went to the culinary arts program at Schoolcraft College right out of high school. I took over. I was chef of Fonte di Amore prior to going to culinary school. As soon as I graduated, I took over full responsibility of the kitchen and then helped my father. I was the opening chef of Laurel Manor, and we opened up on New Year's Eve of 1988. And I resided here as chef until 6 to 8 months after opening, when I hired and trained my replacement here to go back to the Fonte di Amore and put my signature touch on Italian food. And that chef that I hired and trained to replace me is a guy by the name of Greg Vitale, who's still the chef of this facility 37 years later. What's your earliest recollection of coming to work with your dad? Oh, 5 years old, 6 years old. I thrown in the back of the Plymouth and going to the pizzeria and standing on milk crates and pulling pizzas out of the oven so I could reach the door.
Well, you got a real early education in this.
When you're a son of, children of immigrants, and my father is one of 5 children, my mother was one of 8, but they're the only 2 who moved to the United States of America, so we had no family here. All our family resides to this day in Abruzzo, Italy. So when they came here and raised their family, they really didn't have a network to drop us kids off to, their brothers and sisters and people they could trust to watch us. So we went to school and we went to work with them. And work was kind of like the offices where we would do our homework as children because they didn't trust us anywhere else.
As you said, you were the chef when Laurel Manor opened in winter of 1988. When you look back and realize it was 37 years ago, what comes to mind when you realize this place has been around for almost 4 decades?
It's really quite astonishing, and I have to tell you that, it's really a tribute to my father. And my father was a fantastic operator, and he really paid attention to details. And when I say details, he kept this building impeccable. It's state of the art. It's always running perfectly. It's spotless from the front of the house to the back of the house. That kitchen at 37 years old looks like it was built yesterday. And he did the best he could do with the knowledge he had on food, and he always held it to a high standard. And not coming from a background like me as a chef, it's really, really quite amazing what he was able to achieve here for almost 40 years, and I think there's another 40 years in the future.
Tell us about some of the changes and renovations that have been done thus far here, and what were some of the customer experience goals you're hoping to accomplish with those renovations?
So we had phase 1 renovation last year, and it was all done in the ballrooms, and we did the ballrooms from the ground up. Lighting, flooring, walls, texture, colors, and it's really looks fantastic, and our customers, it's been extremely well received. Last year we went up naturally 25% in business, and I think it was just due to how modern and beautiful the ballrooms felt. And this year we want to go into phase 2. We want to do all of our lobbies, the area we're sitting in, this casual little bar, espresso bar. We're going to add some more details to our 2 wedding chapels we have on site, and the public restrooms. So we've got another big round. Oh, and also all new china, glasses, stemware, silverware. That brings us a little more modern touches to our food service.
So it sounds like a comprehensive refresh of
Yes.
what you're trying to do here
Yes.
with that. And we were walking around beforehand. You've got a lot of space in here, not just the banquet rooms, but you could actually do a chapel for a wedding, and then have in a separate space from the actual banquet area. And I guess talk about the space that you have available with the 60,000 square feet you have here.
Yeah, no, Laurel Manor is second to size to Cobo Hall in Michigan, and we're the largest privately owned banquet facility in the state. We can seat close to 1,600 people consecutively for one event, and there's no other privately owned banquet hall that could come close. And that's without using the 2 chapels. And we have 2 chapels. One seats about 120, and the other one seats about 280 to 300. So you could be full on all day, invite your guests to one location. They can get married on property, move over to a cocktail and hors d'oeuvre reception, and then move over to a dining room and have a full sit-down dinner with live music and entertainment.
So, what is the key? You talked about your father's legacy of running a good place, but what's the key going forward to operating, not only this banquet facility, but you also own several restaurants as well. Talk about the keys to being successful in these ventures.
The key to being successful is hospitality is in my blood. It's the only way I know how to make a living, and I don't pretend to know how to make a living in other industries. And I really, really know how to focus on details. And hospitality is food, it's service, it's ambiance, it's lighting, it's music, it's everything around. And I think going forward, my ability to raise the bar in hospitality and bring this facility, I think, to levels that are better than all of our competition is achievable.
So, what do you like about being a chef?
I love to cook. I mean, really, that's not a joke. My happy, happy, happy place is when I'm with pots, pans, and a knife in my hand. And I still train my chefs in all of my locations. All the food at every one of my restaurants is my food. And I spend a lot of time training people, and I make sure that they're staying right on track, on point with the way they learn. But when I'm at home at night, I cook every day. I don't eat out. Cooking is just part of my life. I have a beautiful commercial kitchen in my house, and I test a lot of my recipes at home. If I want to create something new for Bigalora wood-fired cucina, I have a wood-fired oven there. I can test new pizzas. I can test new pastas, and when I get something I like, I bring it over to my chef, and I show it to him, and this is a new dish on the menu. And that can happen to any of my restaurants, including Laurel Manor Banquet Facility.
Sounds like you love to experiment.
I do love to experiment, and I love food.
So, going back, you look at Laurel Manor. Livonia's been your home. Your mom and dad would say the same thing. Livonia's where everything got going for them. You're still at this great location at I-96 and 275.
Yes.
And so, just talk about what being in Livonia has been, and this location has been to Laurel Manor's success through the years.
Well, I think we're indebted to Livonia. I was born and raised here. This Fonte di Amore, where I cut my teeth, it was in Livonia. My father's been like you said, 6 decades in this community. They've been fantastic to us, and I'm really, really excited about the next few decades for what we can give back to the city. I think that Laurel Manor is a big enough facility that we're looking into infrastructure for charging stations for the electric cars. We've already got a little deli cafe on site. We'd like to spruce that up with maybe a coffee shop, have some tables, have some Wi-Fi. We could extend the hours, and we could give back to the community by allowing people to pull right off the freeway, having this as a location to get a fast charge and catch up on a few emails or get us something to eat and then move on from there.
Well, Luciano, I know you and your family have been influential and successful with a lot of ventures here in Livonia through the years, and we wish you all the best moving forward here with what you got cooking here at Laurel Manor.
Thank you, Dan, and we look forward to hopefully hosting some more events for you as we have in the past, and continuing to grow together.
Absolutely. So that's all the time we have for this edition of Cityscape. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time.